Hey guys, my name is Matsumio, and welcome to another episode of Monday Mailbox on Tuesday. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I'll give my humble opinion on them. To get the format out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today is, what is your opinion on people that are saying that Siege has the most concurrent players it's ever had, even with a bug where the game won't close? I feel like it's very disingenuous and would like your opinion on it. So you might be onto something here. If you're not aware of what's going on, Rainbow Six Siege apparently is doing better than ever. There are more people playing this game than ever before. According to Steam charts, if they're to be believed, they went from 100,000 concurrent players up to 200,000 peak at the launch of year 6. This is unheard of. To literally double your peak player base just does not happen. I don't think it's ever happened in the life cycle of Rainbow Six Siege. Now, this just includes Steam. This isn't taking into consideration Uplay, Xbox, PlayStation. Those platforms are completely excluded. This just kind of gives us a rough idea of the trajectory. If Steam is doing this well, that probably indicates that those other platforms are also rising as well. The thing is, though, and the reason why people are casting doubt on this is that I think right now there's just a lot of cynicism in the Rainbow Six Siege community. A lot of people have had it in their minds that Rainbow Six is slowly withering away and that it's dying and that it's spiraling down. And so that these stats cannot be justified. Why is the game now exploding in popularity? But also because there's a glitch where if you try to exit out of the game, at least on PC, it doesn't exit out entirely. And so some people are speculating, because many people don't realize that Rainbow Six is continuously running in the background, even though it's not in their taskbar or anything like that. It's also counting towards those numbers. And that could be a distinct possibility. That could be the reason why we've been seeing this increase. But I don't think that is the full picture. We have to remember that this is the start of year 6. A lot of people are returning and playing Rainbow Six Siege for the first time, not only because they just did a free weekend, but also because they're excited for this new content. They also did a big ad campaign on Twitch recently, which they haven't done in a really long time. They got big streamers like Shroud, Sacriel, a lot of other content creators that have never even played this game before, introducing their audience to this game, potentially for the very first time. That could also be an explanation for why we've seen this rise in the player count so quickly. And so I think those are things that we need to take into consideration as well. Yes, it could be this glitch. That could be a part of it, but I don't think that is the full picture. In general, I think people are putting way too much stock into the stats of Rainbow Six Siege. Yes, they are important. Like, don't get me wrong. They can be a good indication if the game is failing and they need to make improvements. Like, I understand that, but it feels like people are actively rooting for the failure of the game. And then when it does do well and the player base starts to rise, people try to make up excuses for why that's happening. It's like, no, it can't be because the game is fun or people are excited to play. It has to be for some other reason. I think a lot of people are falling into the trap, and I realize I'm going a bit off topic here, where they automatically assume that when they're not enjoying something, they played Siege for years, but they're getting burnt out, they moved on to other games, their friends have also moved on to other video games, then that must be a big representation of the entire player base. If I'm not having fun, then everyone else must not be having fun. I have also fallen into this same mindset. I play a game for a while, have my fun, and then move on, and then when I think back, I'm like, oh, isn't that game dead already? It's like, no, it still has a very healthy player base. It's just that you personally don't enjoy it anymore, and that's okay. Now, who knows? Maybe once they fix this glitch in the next couple of weeks, the player base is going to plummet and things are going to look terrible, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the game is in a reasonably good spot right now, but obviously only time will tell. The next one is, have you felt the new recoil changes in Rainbow Six, and what do you think about it if you have? So you are definitely not the only one that has noticed this. Many people have been complaining lately that the recoil just feels off right now in Rainbow Six Siege. All that muscle memory that you've been building up over the years is now causing some problems, where normally you would be controlling the recoil to be aiming around someone's face region. Now out of nowhere, randomly, you'll be aiming at someone someone's feats. Now, thankfully, Ubisoft has acknowledged that, to probably very few people's surprise, is that this was unintended and that this is a glitch. They've already updated the technical test server to resolve this problem, and so hopefully in the very near future, recoil will go back to what it was. The reason why I wanted to select this question for today's video is because many people have noticed this. It's one of the questions I got the most, and so if you are worried that you're now gonna have to relearn, or if something just felt off about the recoil, you're right, but you don't need to worry. Hopefully very, very soon that fix is going to go through. The next question is, what happened to the Nook buff and the control of Maestro cameras when spectating? I was also a bit disappointed that the Nook buff didn't go through, but with regard to the camera changes, that isn't going to be happening for quite some time. Ubisoft has stated that they want to get a little bit more experimental on the technical test server and actually use it to test out major big changes to Rainbow Six Siege. One of them being the Nook buff. Apparently it wasn't ready for the live build, and that's the reason why it hadn't gone through yet, but also eventually they're going to allow you to be able to use your drones and use your cameras like Maestro and Echo, even when those operators get taken out during a round. Now, this might mean that these changes never go through because they are so substantial, and because this could be such a significant change to the way that we play the game and the meta itself, that Ubisoft, the community, deems that it's just game breaking or it breaks the flow of Rainbow Six Siege, and they just scrap the idea. This is one of the concerns that I had with this announcement, is that I'm excited that they're finally using the test environment to adjust and bring out some of these really cool ideas, but it might set expectations too high and people might be disappointed by that. If they were really looking forward to one of these big updates, but then eventually it never comes out because Ubisoft, for whatever reason, just scraps the idea, that could cause some problems. That is something that Ubisoft, I think, is going to have to kind of navigate around, and they're going to have to communicate with the player base why they do certain things. Overall, though, I think we're just gonna have to be patient. This is Ubisoft that we're talking about. If Tachanka's rework is any indication, I think it took him a year from the original announcement to when he finally came out. And so if that is a timeline that we can kind of be expecting for these updates, it's gonna take a while. I'm crossing my fingers that the Nook one in particular isn't gonna take that long, because it felt like she was in a pretty solid spot. I know that some people were a little concerned about balance and that she was a bit too powerful, and so maybe that's why they didn't release that onto the live build. It's kind of hard to say, but I'm hopeful that that one isn't going to take much longer. The next question comes from Dylan, and it is, as of this moment, the Gon 6 is kind of useless. You lose more than you gain. What are your thoughts? Any ways that you can think of buffing it? Well, the only way that I could think of buffing it, at least off the top of my head, is to just give it an extra round, so you get 2, or to just simply make it so that it's not countered by Jaeger or Wamai, so that as long as you have the aim and the accuracy, you can take out whatever gadget that you were going against, and you don't have to worry about being countered. Now, the issue with that is that I think that having counters in Siege is kind of important. You want to be able to protect those certain gadgets, and so having something in the game that can just bypass quite literally everything with no way for defense to respond, I think is kind of problematic, but that would be one way of trying to make it a little bit more appealing. Now, with that said, though, I did want to go back to your statement on it being useless, because while I do agree that it is very situational, I don't know if I would go as far to say that it's just completely worthless and has no value. A lot of times, I never rely on my secondary. I don't know if it's just my playstyle, but I usually always use my primary weapon. That's just the way that I play this game. And so to have a secondary option, it's not even a secondary gadget, so I'm not even having to give up my secondary gadget to be able to use this. This is just more utility that I am bringing to the offensive team. Now, I will admit that I don't agree with the way that they kind of shuffled things around. I think that Finka lost nades in favor of the Gon 6. Like, that's probably one of the worst trades that they could have given her. Like, that was definitely not an upgrade. But I think in general, this has been a positive. Admittedly though, many of the characters that do have these gadgets are already operators that don't see much play and aren't that impactful on a match, and I don't think that by giving them the Gon 6 that really elevated them to the point where they are all of a sudden competitive. Yes, this is more utility, but you would be better off just bringing an Ashe or a Zofia. They already have way more utility in this department, so if you want to be able to take out the utility, Zofia is going to get that job done much better than someone like a Gridlock. And so I think that they probably could have handled that a little bit better. In general though, I think we have to remember that this is a secondary. Secondaries are not meant to be powerful. They're not meant to be fundamentally changing the way that an operator performs during a round. And so I think that's why it is balanced the way that it is. Maybe Ubisoft in a couple of months or weeks will realize that yes, this isn't going far enough, or they're going to give it to a wider selection of operators. But I think for right now, they're probably content because it is just a secondary weapon. But yeah, guys, that is it for today's episode of Tuesday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Do you think the Gon 6 needs an upgrade? How would you go about it? Why or why not? Give me your guys' thoughts down below. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.